Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm a Monk, and today we are doing a brand new video. It is going to be my top 5 RPGs of all time. If you're anything like me, you will notice that 2022 hasn't exactly been flush with games to play. So it's kind of the perfect year to hit that backlog, of those games that's always been building up that you've always been meaning to play, but quite just never got round to it. Like I said, 2022 is the perfect year to hit that backlog. And so that's kind of what this, video is all about, to encourage you to pick up one of those older gems of a game that maybe you just never got round to. And this is my personal top 5 RPGs of all time. I have played and completed and sunk many hours into every single RPG you are seeing on the screen throughout this video. So hopefully you guys like it. You may not agree with my list, and if your best RPG of all time isn't on this list, then pop that down in the comments. I'd be very interested to know what you think should be on the list that just didn't quite make it onto mine. And if this is the kind of video that you think that you will enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button, and of course subscribe to the channel, that way you don't miss out on more videos just like this. We also have an active and growing Discord, guys. We've got like over 200 members in it right now. I'll put the link for that down in the description. If you want to jump in, chat about this video, chat about any game that you may be playing, we're always there, and we're always happy to chat about any game that's got us excited. But enough of that, let's get stuck into the video. And up first, in 5th place, we have got Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain. I absolutely loved this game. I spent far too much time in this game. It is an open world RPG. It kind of plays very differently to any Metal Gear Solid that you have probably ever played before, but it still has enough familiarities to remind you just why we fell in love with this franchise in the first place. Now, I personally love open world games, and that's a massive reason why I actually got sunk into this. The first 3 hours plays like a bloody movie for a start. Once you move on through, then the game opens up into a huge game with tons of different content and lots of like small in-game details for you to pick up. You can recruit your allies, you can go through, all the different missions as you want to, including all the little side missions as well. You can customize your loadout and build up a base and recruit for your base, including weapons and vehicles, people, and it's just a great deal of fun to just have a complete bash about with. And of course, this being Metal Gear Solid, there's plenty of weirdness to go with it as well. This game's actually 7 years old now, releasing back in 2015. Quite frankly, I want another one of these to be made because I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it still holds up today. So if you want to jump into it, now's a good time. Next up, in number 4, we have an oldie. This game was first released in 1999. That's right, this game is 23 years old. And have you guessed it yet? This is none other than Final Fantasy VIII. Now, I'm one of those people that feel that Final Fantasy VIII just didn't get the love that it deserved. Final Fantasy VII obviously blast onto the PlayStation and basically lit up the PlayStation, made it sold for however much it did. Really helped it, to be fair, helped launch the console. For me though, Final Fantasy VIII was the first one in the series that I actually picked up and started playing it, hence my love for this game. Not to mention the fact that it has everything you could want or expect from a Final Fantasy game, including, summons, magic, leveling, trying to figure out all the different mechanics. I really think that the old school games were more in-depth and more tricky than almost any game that ever releases today. But this also had an absolutely fabulous in-game sort of mini game as well, where you get to run around collecting all the various different cards to play cards against a ton of different people. I loved going ahead and finding all of the rare cards in the game, adding it to my deck, and literally just fighting the same monsters again and again and again in hopes that I finally got one of those cards. One of the things I loved about the Final Fantasy games, that although they were on PlayStation, which, was used to one disc games, Final Fantasy pushed that barrier, and a lot of the Final Fantasy games were released with 4 discs. Absolute monsters of games, even for back then. I downloaded, brought, and played all of the remasters very much recently, played Final Fantasy VIII recently, and just fell back in love with it. It's still hands up today, works absolutely amazing. And if you've never played Final Fantasy VIII, I strongly recommend you go ahead and do so. And if you're one of those people that absolutely adore Final Fantasy VII, I don't blame you for doing so, but maybe just give Final Fantasy VIII another go. Where Final Fantasy VII kind of lacked in places, I feel that Final Fantasy VIII actually made up for those things and has one of the greatest love stories of all time. And that for me is why it earned its 4th spot. And breaking into the top 3 places, we have none other than Dragon Age Inquisition. Again, some people will argue that Dragon Age 2 was the better Dragon Age, and if you have played Dragon Age 1 and 2, you'll know that they're both very, very strong titles. However, again, for me, Dragon Age Inquisition was my first dip into this world. And with Dragon Age 4 now officially in development, there has never been a better time than 2022 to pick up Dragon Age Inquisition and give it an absolute bash. I have spent hundreds of hours in this game. It has a huge array of DLCs, and it is on sale an awful lot. You can pick this game up for dirt cheap, and you will not be sorry for the amount of content you're going to get for your money. Once again, this is an open world game, and as well as the main story that you have to navigate, kind of precisely. Your choices, your actions have huge consequence on how your story actually pans out. But on top of all of that, you can also just wander off and start hunting dragons. Now, I'm all for mini games inside games, and this strictly isn't a mini game, but I love the idea of just going off and hunting a dragon, or wandering around a map and literally just plomping yourself into a dragon lair completely unprepared and outmatched, and wondering if you're actually going to take it on or run for your very life. And apart from Cassandra and the other supporting cast stealing almost every second of on-screen time they get in cutscenes, you also have the chance of kingdom management, building up your kingdom, and kind of developing how your castle looks, and the people that you manage to recruit as allies. Games that give you a real sense of achievement, I think personally, are very rare. Dragon Age Inquisition does exactly that, and is why even today I'm happy to replay, pick up, and just re-emerge into this outstanding open world RPG. Now, there's no build up needed for this next one. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. In at number 2, we have Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the Sith Lords. This game offers the greatest villain of all time, and you get to go straight up against him. And apart from Darth Nihilus, this game also gives you the ability to go through the game as a good guy or a bad guy, maybe even someone in between, collecting different companions along the way as you travel through space on the Ebon Hawk. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. If you are a Star Wars fan, there is a huge amount of lore here for you to explore and thoroughly enjoy. And let's not even forget about HK-47. If you ask me, that little side companion has been written so well, it deserves its own game, and hey, I'd go so far as to start up a petition right now if I thought it even had a hope of getting done. Unfortunately, they were about to remake or make a brand new Knights of the Old Republic. That apparently has just been completely scrapped. It was due out next year, and so with that game indefinitely suspended, and that's a rare thing for any game in development, but for that to be indefinitely suspended, now has never been a better time to pick up an absolute classic. And I know there's a lot of love for KOTOR number 1, but in KOTOR 2, what can I say? You have the chance to actually turn your companions into Sith or Jedi. I mean, what's not to love? And to think I almost made it all the way through the KOTOR talk without mentioning Pazark. Pazark is an in-game minigame. I've told you how much I love them. This game has one, and it's a lot of fun to play. Seriously, there couldn't be more reasons to pick up this game and try it. It's also on sale for like £9 on almost every platform you could imagine. So give it a go. Anyway, in at number 1. At this point, I realize I should probably change the title of this video, the top 5 games with the best minigames inside them of all time, because in at number 1, guys, is none other than The Witcher 3. I mean, what is not to love? Apart from, of course, Gwent, which was an in-game card game made specifically for The Witcher 3 that ended on becoming its own standalone game. I mean, it was so good and so in-depth, they had to do it again. Absolutely loved it, by the way. Spent far too many hours on that game. Now, apart from being a open world, again, a massive open world game once again, this game has a lot to offer. I personally, when the very first time I picked up this game, I spent like 50 hours in this game. And I come up to a side quest, and I swear that I had spent a ton of hours on this side quest, going back and forth, you know, trying to complete this side quest and getting really into it, thinking that I was getting a chunk done in my game, for it only to turn about being a side mission. I was gutted. I'd spent so much in that game. At the end of the day, when I very first picked up this game, I spent 50 hours in it, and it was too big for me, guys. So I just left it to the side, didn't play it for a very long time, went back recently and done a review on it, spent another 150 hours into the game, and decided that it is my favorite RPG of all time. Now, the same publishers obviously released Cyberpunk. That game was a little bit bugged and a little bit flawed, unfortunately. This game, if you ask me, is close to perfection. It's a very old game now, but if you load it up, it holds true today. It works absolutely fantastic. There's no real bugs or anything to really speak of, and the devs have a huge, amazing sense of humor. I remember there being an exploit in this game where you could just farm these cows, constantly getting money. And it was great. It was great fun while that exploit was there, because it was there when I originally first started playing this game. I went to do that again in my second playthrough, to be greeted by a gigantic like cow mini boss monster that appeared if I tried to do this exploit. So thank you, devs. That was fun. Now, I already mentioned that Final Fantasy VIII possibly had the greatest love story of all time. Well, if that had the greatest love story of all time, The Witcher 3 undoubtedly has the greatest love triangle of all time within video games. That being the triangle between Geralt, Triss, and Yennefer. As you progress through this game, you have to make various different choices and basically pick your allegiance. Do you want to be on Yennefer's team, or do you want to be Team Triss? And if you don't pick, well, there's a rather funny outcome for that too. But I love the fact that this game gives you so many options, so many choices, and just allows you, playing Geralt, playing The Witcher, to just experience this world and what it has to offer on your terms. I love that. On top of the little detective mode that you're gonna have when you go off seeking against other monsters, and you get to be this monster hunter, but then you enter like detective mode and you have to find out where this monster went, what's it thinking, what's happened at the crime scene. I kind of love that in a fantasy RPG. It's kind of a little bit unexpected. And all of this, guys, are just a few of the reasons why, for me, The Witcher 3 is the greatest RPG of all time and the perfect game to pick up in 2022 with the utter game drought that we are in. So if you've never played this game, never picked it up, even, so far after release, pick it up and have a go, guys, because you will not regret it. And again, it is a game that is on sale an awful lot. There's a ton of DLCs you can get for this game. Not that it even needs them. So you're going to get a lot of content for your money. But guys, that is it for the end of this video. Thank you very much for joining me. If you've watched to the very end, big thumbs up to you. Honestly, it helps this channel out so much, so I appreciate it. Don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on this list and let me know the one game that wasn't on this list, that wasn't featured, and that you think fully deserves to be here, because there are a lot of great RPGs that have been released and a lot that I just couldn't fit into this video, to be fair, or just got bumped down because of personal preference. But I'd be very interested to see what it is that you guys love playing above all else. But until next time, I've been a monk, we've been the Critically Clueless, and I will see you in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy and happy gaming.
Ate only the entrails. Fussy.